Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all. My name is IdaMarlinaMazlan, a PhD candidate from UKM. Today I'll be presenting on my topic, integration of courses as architecture learning for introductory level architecture students. Before going into the subject of integration in architecture studies, I would like to give a brief introduction on architecture studies. So according to Barada, architectural education is thought of as educating students to be meaningful architects. And one of the most renowned slogans surrounding the fundamentals of architecture values is by Vitruvius, which talks about utilitas, which is function, firmitas, solidity, and venustas in beauty. So each of these three in the Vitruvian triad depends on one another to form quality in architecture. All of the components are to be met, and interaction between these three components would create unity. Therefore, architecture is not considered a self-sufficient profession, but a multidisciplinary, multi-skilled, and multi-directional profession. When compared to the profession, architecture education is an equally complicated process. Its demand must be supported by understanding art, science, psychology, mathematics, and engineering. So in short, architecture studies are complex and there is no one single form of knowledge or practice that can be described in specific and precise. It is hard to define the best practice and learning acquired by the architecture student, especially for the introductory levels of learners. Thus, based on the Vitruvius triad, this paper looks into the implementation of integration between design course and theory courses to create quality learning in architecture studies. The research objectives are to understand the learning method in architecture design course, to determine problems and approaches in architecture courses, and assess the implementation of assignment integration across courses. The research also focuses on the introductory level of learner through assignment integration. So architecture education mainly has the design course as the core, and the design course is organized with a special privilege whereby it is being conducted in a studio. The learning format involves high levels of student-centered learning, pedagogies, and is based on inductive problem solving, which is carried out through the progress in project stages. So traditionally, it also involves a small group of students under a studio master and an instructor. So in general, a design course is an interactive decision-making process that produces plans and which resources are converted into products of systems that meet human needs and requirements or solve problems. So this learning process includes all activities where the designer will perform from the beginning until locating the final solution. And the procedure is full of repeated actions that lie between problem definition and the solution to this problem. However, over the years, students in architecture studies have arrived at their designs by applying several processes. So one way or the other, there must have been a step-by-step approach students of architecture must have adopted to tackle challenges. In transferring their thoughts and ideas into paper. And this is what is known as architecture design process. However, there are some problems when it comes to learning architecture studies. Although the fundamental is simple, students actually find it very difficult to understand how design studio operates regardless of whether they are new to design studio learning environment or experienced design studio. And the architecture design course alone is not sufficient to cover all domains of knowledge offered parallel to studios such as history, theory, structures, technical issues, environmental science, economics, and etc. So in this paper, I have looked into integration between the architecture design course and theory courses, whereby the architecture studio has a coordinator responsible for reviewing or writing the course outline besides teaching the studio in the semester that they coordinate. However, the design studio is expected to have a heavier load on the students, and these are translated directly based on the credit hours that is carried by this course subject. Therefore, it is very reasonable to look at integrating architecture design studio with theory courses to assist students in having quality and effective learning. Having said that, in this paper, Architecture History 1 was excluded in the integration due to the topics of History 1, which focuses on ancient civilization. So when this integration was implemented, the coordinator had difficulty finding the integration point between the design studio and ancient civilization. So the integration mapping is shown here. So the first semester students are to undertake 5 courses, which are Architecture Design Studio 1, Architecture Design Communication 1, Building Technology and Construction 1, and Architecture History 1, Professional Communication. And as you can see here, only 4 out of the 5 courses are integrated for the reason that is stated earlier. And the survey was distributed to 36 first semester undergraduate students from UCSI University, which has experienced integration as part of introductory level in learning architecture. And the question was asked through 3 sections, which is fulfillment of course learning outcome for the core course, which is Architecture Design Studio 1, effectiveness of integration of design courses and theory courses, and on overall effectiveness of integration as a method to assist students in learning architecture. Students were also asked to give feedback on integration of each theory course and overall effectiveness of integration as a learning method for introductory level architecture students. So these are the collected data for section A, and this is the collected data for section B. So in section A, in terms of course learning outcome, more than 60% actually rated 4 to 5 for all CLO, while 30% rated 3, which is averagely fulfilled, and the rest of it has shown a small percentage of this not fulfilled in learning for Architecture Design Studio. So in general, the fulfillment in learning for Architecture Design Studio 1 is generally fulfilled, with a very small percentage stating otherwise. Therefore, students at introductory level have managed to grasp the idea of learning architecture design. And in section B, in terms of integration of courses, more than 60% has rated the integration with Design Communication 1 more effectively compared to integration with Building Technology 1 and Professional Communication, although all were rated 4. And these are some feedbacks from the students as well. Mainly, they have understood Architecture Design Studio with the help of integration with theory courses. So in my discussion, 97.1% of students agree on the finding that integration has assisted them in learning architecture, while only 2.9% stated otherwise. Positive feedback from students also stated that integration had assisted them in learning architecture at an introductory level. In terms of recommendation, there are a few recommendations whereby perhaps in order for you to have a successful integration, one need to look at the percentage of the integration. This is to ensure effective and impactful integration. Number 2 is shared information between studio coordinator as well as the theory courses lecturer. And this communication must be communicated not just from lecturer to lecturer, but also from lecturer to students. And number 3 is introduction to integration, whereby the students need to be aware of what is integration mapping and how does it work and how would it help them in assisting to understand architecture studies better. In conclusion, the recommendations and feedback from the students can provide more insight to enhance the quality of learning and improve educational outcomes in first year and above. The balance between theory courses complements design course, or design courses complement the theory courses through integration need to be defined clearly. And integrating theory into design course has the potential to encourage students to be actively engaged as opposed to traditional lecture approach, which is passive and ineffective. Having said that, we need to also recognize that each student has different capabilities in understanding the course, but this is one of the methods to assist them in understanding what is architecture studies. Thank you very much.